Welcome to Talking Thick with Chrissy. I am your host, Chrissy, and this show is about inspiration, celebration, and real connections. But tonight's show, we are talking thick about credit worthiness, finances, and how you can overcome your financial struggles. So just get comfy and grab whatever drink you're going to drink, and let's get started. We got Dwayne Cole and we got Carrie Wilson as my guest tonight. Dwayne, give us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, everybody. As mentioned, I'm Dwayne Cole, originally from Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm actually living in Houston, Texas now. Been here in Houston for approximately 19 years or so. Moved out here for employment. A job actually brought me out here initially. And as I got established here in Houston, Texas, began to think about things that were important in my life. Even behind that, though, I do have a large family. I have 5 girls and 1 boy.
Wow. You were quite the busy man.
Yeah, something like that. But that that's the thick of my background.
All right. Well, I like that you use the thick of your background. I appreciate that call out. Hey, Carrie, how you doing tonight?
Hi, I'm good. How about you?
I am wonderful. Can you tell my audience a little bit about yourself?
Yes, as mentioned, my name is Carrie Wilson, and essentially, I've been in management for over 20 years. Recently, out of banking as a branch manager with banking. I was in banking for almost 11 years, a manager for 9 of those 11 years. So, financial literacy is one of the things that's like passionate to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I actually have 3 boys and a girl, and
Okay.
a little bit different than Dwayne. I actually have 4 grandbabies, which is happens to be 2 girls and 2 boys, and 2 on the way. I know, may not seem like it, but I do.
You
I'm
do not look
actually
like a
from
grandmother.
Yes,
Yeah, I'm surprised.
goodness, but they keep me busy. I promise you. I think that's probably what keep me young because, of course, having those little ones, 3 of them are toddlers. So, but I'm from Ozark. Well, I live in Ozark, Alabama. I'm from Barber County originally, Barber County, Alabama, which is right here. So I'm a country girl. I don't know if you can tell the accent, but just down home country. Love people, love helping people, and that's a little bit about myself. So.
All right. Well, both you and Dwayne are part of the credit worthiness industry. Dwayne does have his own business. Dwayne, let us know how long you've been doing your credit business.
Actually, hands-on. I've been doing it for about 7, 8 years. As far as learning, I've been learning for quite some time. The credit world and why it's important.
Okay. Did you have to do any certifications for getting into the credit business?
Absolutely. I did get certified in the credit coaching and wealth business. So, absolutely, that's a must.
All right. How about you, Carrie?
So I actually been back into business for about a year. I actually did the credit business a few years back before I came back into banking. Essentially, just I ended up back here because the branch location I was managing closed down and they offered me a less desirable position. So I decided to kind of step out on faith and go back into business. So I've been doing it again since about a year. But total experience, hands on with helping people, even when I wasn't in business, I still help people. It's a total of 8 years. But been learning for years, of course, just self experience, research, and trying to get knowledgeable about things when it comes down to finances and credit.
Awesome. Now, let me ask both of you something because being that you both are doing the credit worthiness, did either of you start go work with someone to help with your credit?
Oh, definitely, definitely. That's what inspired me, to be honest with you. And I talk to people about that all the time. A lot of the times people are just kind of like hush hush on the credit thing, but it's kind of like, why? You know what I mean? Yes, it's a personal matter. I've had challenges. I'm a prime example. But it's all about, it's not the challenge itself. It's just about what are you going to do about it. So absolutely, I had challenges and had to understand it. You know what I mean? To make it make sense. Um, but yeah, absolutely. To answer that question, definitely had challenges.
Yeah, I actually tried doing the credit repair one year, and the person that I went with tried to rip me off. He charged me, and I knew how to do it. It's just that for me during that time it was so tedious that I didn't want to do it. I got lazy, and I actually paid this guy $400 for him to fix my credit. I kept reaching out to him to see, what the status was. I kept getting the runaround, until finally I'm like, okay, I need you to bring me my money back because you're not
Hmm.
doing what I paid for. And I said, if you didn't give me my money, then we was gonna have a problem. He showed up at my parents' house with my $400 that I paid him. I wasn't about to play with you because I paid you for a service that you're not providing for me. So I need my money back. Have you
Fortunately, that
experienced
happens.
that?
Unfortunately, that happens with people that are in the industry. People just, unfortunately, they'll trust people to do something. But ideally, when you're dealing with credit, it is a service. So that's one thing that I pride myself on with my company. I don't charge you anything until you have actually had some results, because I know people have been burned.
Right.
Unfortunately, what happens? People take the money, you don't hear nothing from them, or you don't get results. One or the other. You know what I mean? So in a service industry, you should be, doing the work. And then, of course, invoicing out your customers. So I pride myself on doing that for customers because, again, I want you to be a believer. I don't want you to be that person that got by somebody because, yes, it happens, unfortunately, all the time.
I'm gonna tell you a little backstory. Then we're gonna come to you, Carrie, about the guy that I told you with the credit. Met this man at my a job that I was at for 11 years. He was trying to kick it with me. Went to his house. We was just kicking it. How about there was a picture of the guy that tried to take my money with the credit? It was a picture in his house.
Oh my
It
goodness.
was his brother.
Oh,
I I promise you, it was his brother. And I told him, I said, "Who is that person?" He said, "That's my brother." I said, "Your brother tried to rip me off." He said, "Yeah, he's supposed to be in the church, and he
That's
was
why.
doing that to people."
Oh,
But
goodness.
that's lets you know how small this world is. The fact that I didn't know this man from Adam, and I'm just meeting him, and we just started talking, and for his brother's picture to be in the house, the same person that took my damn money. I said, "This is some bullshit. This is
that
bullshit."
sound like a that sound like a movie script for real. That's wild.
Absolutely, absolutely. But he said, yeah, he said his brother tried to rip him off. Like, so who am I? Who am I? And then he up in the church. But I had to tell that story. Carrie, have
Wow.
you experienced going through the credit repair system as well before you started yours?
My story is a little different. Ironically, I actually my husband is almost 10 years older than me, so I basically met him right out of high school. Essentially, well, not right out of high school. I'm sorry, right before high school, but he was actually going through some credit challenges, and ironically, I was able to help him with his credit. And I can't tell you how I knew how to do it. I just tried it and helped him with his credit, got it back on track, and basically been learning credit throughout the whole my whole lifetime. Trial and error, of course, but fortunately, I haven't had to use anybody in the credit repair industry. But I have heard many of those horror stories that you went through. A lot of times it actually be in the thousands of dollars, is what I hear. But
Mm-hmm.
my just like Dwayne, I actually don't start charging until I do work. So I actually start mailing off the letters and everything before I actually charge my clients. And and basically in being in customer service for so long, you kind of build your trust and people know your integrity, and especially with being in a small town, it didn't take me much to kind of build up my clientele because they kind of already knew how honest I am and my integrity and everything. So that's unfortunate with that to be in the customer service industry for so long.
Well, yeah, especially if you have the background and then also you already have the clientele, so they already know that you are who you say you are, and you're going to give them the service that they're paying for. So that's always a good thing when you have the clientele before you even actually start your business.
Most
I
definitely.
love that about Carrie. Self-taught. I love it. Hey, that's awesome for real. I mean,
Absolutely.
sometimes you got to get your feet wet.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I like it.
Absolutely.
And you know when I actually started the credit repair business a few years back, you know, like I said, I did it a few years back, but I went back into banking. When I started, I had to actually reach deep down because I'm older and think about this. You know, think about it. I was like, you know what? This actually had been a talent that I just was gifted with. I guess because I remembered that I helped my husband with his credit situation. You
Mm-hmm.
know, when we met and I actually started to learn about credit and finances and everything, and I was like, oh my goodness, I've been doing this longer than what I thought I have. But of course, it did. I did have to actually do more research and everything to kind of learn a little bit more in depth how the credit repair process worked. Because
Mm-hmm.
in his instance, he had identity theft. So essentially, you know, identity theft is zero the credit repair process. So I did have to learn the other way and why it's legal to actually dispute items off your credit, even if it's something that you actually owe. So
Okay. Carrie, I know that you sent me your bio, and you mentioned that, and you also, when you were telling my audience about yourself, you mentioned that you had left corporate America to start your own business. What was your biggest challenge in doing that?
well, because I've worked all of my life pretty much, other than you know the time, like I said, I was in business. A few years back, I did do a business full time entrepreneurship for about a year before. So the challenge was just not having that reliable, you know, consistent income, because you know essentially you have to actually build up your clientele and be able to you know to kind of get them to start paying for services and be consistent themselves, because you do have in the credit repair industry unfortunately you do have people that kind of you know think you can you know work, even if you tell them up front like listen, this is a process, you know, it's going to take time, patience, and you thoroughly explain. Sometimes they get in financial situations that they have to stop the process as well, because I bill on a monthly basis. I don't actually you know like charge a lump sum. So, you know, the challenge of just having that consistent income, I think, is what was kind of, you know, it still is a challenge. Honestly, it's kind of up and down.
Okay. Dwayne, I got a question for you. What are the most common misconceptions of people with the credit repair industry?
Thinking something's gonna happen overnight. That's what they think. You know, the unfortunate thing is people will reach out to you when it's a dire need at that point versus reaching out to you prior. You know what I mean? Thinking that you can wave a magic wand and everything is fixed. And you know, piggybacking off of Gary, you got to explain to them that hey, this is a process. You know, it's not magical. You know, there's my part, and then there's your part. You know, my job is to get the negative items off of your credit report. Your job is to not make late payments, pay your debt down. You know, there's so many different things that go hand in hand. So I have a part to do. They have a part to do. But you always have that customer that wants something done magically, you know, immediately. It just doesn't work that way. So that's the misconception that I get the most.
Is that the same for you, Carrie?
It is, but the good thing about myself and when I restarted back up my business, I actually have a more of a focus on empowering the communities of how to like with the knowledge, support, and resources. So I actually mainly focus on workshops, especially with the youth. So I don't primarily do credit repair, but it is the same, like you state, like Dwayne is stating that people do think things can happen overnight, and you can make wave a magic wand, and you know, it's just like, and they come when they want to buy a house tomorrow or yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And so it does make it challenging with that. So When I inserted back into being a full time entrepreneur, I did start offering other services outside of credit repair. So that's not my primary focus when it comes down to my business.
Okay. So what other I know you said that credit repair is not, the main focus, and you mentioned, you do financial literacy. What other things do you provide within your business?
So, like mentioned, the workshops actually to educate. And like I said, I got a strong focus on the youth because if we can teach them earlier on, they don't have to learn, in trial and error. They can actually be able to build a sustainable future with knowing how to build, credit and how it works. So my strong focus is on educating through workshops, one-on-one consultations. I do offer group consultations and also family consultations. So essentially just trying to shift the generational curse per se, for better, lack of better words, to ensure that that you know how to, instead of getting in a predicament and having to try to you know fix it.
Right.
But
That I
I
mean
do
that
run
makes
across,
sense.
but I do run across people, of course, that I need to help to fix it because, of course, it's not a perfect world. I do help adults as well, but I just have a strong focus on the youth and just the educational pieces is kind of where I mostly focus on.
Okay. I know you said you do workshops. Do you go actually in schools, or you do workshops within your business only?
No, I actually do go into schools, colleges, and I'm working to get into high schools. Their budget is a little bit different. They have budget buckets, so I'm actually starting a nonprofit organization to help support, you know, offering the service at a better rate to where I can actually have the public to help support getting in the schools and teaching those young, those young adults. I call them young adults before they go into the real world.
Absolutely. My son, when he was in college, he said he wished he had known about the things they said. He said they're teaching us stuff that we're never going to use, although they say we are, but they wasn't teaching them. And yet, I truly believe that teaching starts at home. Yes, but there are things that the schools could have been teaching them as well. And he was upset to the fact that he came out of college and he was like, well, I don't know this and I don't know that. He said, I wish they had given us some classes on that. Do you see in the near future that maybe you'll be offering a course for the young adults?
Most definitely. I'm actually trying to think outside of the box as well to where my, like for-profit business can offer curriculums to the school because essentially they do have a budget for curriculums.
Right.
So, with the workshops, because I do slideshows and kind of go through them, I'm thinking about, doing some things that way to where they can actually, maybe the teacher that they have, because they have entrepreneurship teachers. They have teachers that supposed to teach a little bit of financial literacy, but they just don't know things in depth like somebody that's been in that has experience in it. So I'm trying to actually set a foundation to where I can offer a curriculum to where they can actually maybe learn from me and then be able to go into the schools and teach it to where they won't have to pay somebody else and outsource it for somebody to come in.
Okay. What I know you said you do have the workshop. What particular part of finances? Is it just about saving? Is it about building your finances? Or is it all of the above?
It's actually all of the above. I even teach in my workshops, I teach you the difference between a bank and a credit union. I teach you what banks look for when it comes down to lending opportunities. I also offer entrepreneurship development workshops because a lot of our young adults, they want to not go to college. They want to become entrepreneurs, or either they have already. You see a lot of young entrepreneurs these days to where, parents are supporting them to become entrepreneurs. And so I teach pretty much a lot of things in depth. It's not like cookie cutter. With banking, we was able to go out to schools and everything and teach kids, but it was like cookie cutter things. You have to save, get your piggy bank, when they're younger, or open up your minor savings account and start putting stuff back. But this is really giving them like a rule, a budgeting rule, even
Mm-hmm.
if they have to start with their allowance or their birthday money or their Christmas money, just giving them a rule of thumb, like take, 50% of this and do this with it, 30% and 20%. And because you're so young, you may not have to allocate 50% towards, things that you need because you don't have many needs while you're young. So take, anything, you don't have to max out the 50% and say, hey, I need to go and create something to put towards this 50%. Put it in savings, just deplete from
Mhm.
there and put it in savings. And because you can change the rule when you're younger, but
Right.
unfortunately, like us, we have to kind of go by the rule and stick to it so you're not getting, over your head in bills and stuff. So
Right.
Absolutely. Dwayne, I know you focus mainly on credit, but do you also talk about, other finances?
Definitely. I speak with people in the same instance that Carrie had mentioned. I do speak with people about the importance of savings, the importance of being disciplined, as far as, and, a tad bit on the investing because I'm still learning that part of it. But you definitely want to, or I definitely do speak with people concerning savings, the importance of, having sources of income. But yeah, I definitely speak with people about other things outside of credit. Yes.
Do either one of you get any pushback? Because we always have people that always saying, I don't have this and I don't have that. I can't do this. But, you buying unnecessary stuff in the store, but you don't have anything to help you build up your financial situation. So have either one of you came across that as the biggest challenge in what you do?
It's a
most
challenge.
definitely.
You always have that conversation about assets and liabilities. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's definitely a conversation.
Right. Because honestly, what get them in the predicament they're in is because of the missing disciplinary piece a lot of times, or the not knowing. I do understand that sometimes the not knowing because, when I was in banking, a lot of people would come in and was like, I didn't have enough to pay, this bill. So since I didn't have enough to pay it this month, I'm just gonna double up next month. And they don't know by that time, you don't got 30 days past due and it drops your score drastically. So essentially, it's just all about the discipline and the knowledge as well. It all works hand in hand. And to Dwayne's point, credit repair and helping people to understand how the budget is going to work hand in hand because a lot of times that's the disciplinary piece is what got them into that predicament, or either overspending and getting too far over their head
Yeah, on
without
a
other sources of income. Because you have
absolutely.
to learn how to do other sources of income to help balance it out as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. And just like you said, the not knowing is an important piece of it as well because unfortunately our parents may not have known, so we weren't taught. So that's the main thing, and just as the program that Carrie's running, which I find excellent to hear that. We have learned, and now we have to take that knowledge and provide it to others because again, I don't, our parents wouldn't have just not told us if they knew, if they knew better. They're gonna teach us just like they teach us, to be good or do good in school.
Right.
So I will say that, that hey, my parents may not have known, about finances and credit and things of that nature. So once we learn that, then yeah, we're gonna provide that information to others. Absolutely. So not knowing is a very big piece of it.
Right.
Yeah. On a personal note, my mom and dad had that A plus credit,
Mm.
but they never, from their generation, they never taught us as children. So going through it myself, it was a trial and error. I didn't
Mm.
have. So once I got to the point when I got older, it's like, okay, I can apply for credit. My
Mm.
sister gonna ask me, how you on welfare and you apply for all this credit? I had every credit card you could think of. I made $10,000 worth of credit card debt. I
It's
tell you
easy
no
to
lie.
do.
They calling my phone talking about, can I speak to Christine A? She not here. Who's calling? Them bill collectors will blow your phone up. But when I moved to Alabama, and it was like, okay, I was a single mom at 19, and I wanted something different for my kids. So I'm like, okay, I need a different mindset. So when I moved down to Alabama, I moved in with my parents, and it was just like, wow, I'm 29 and I got to move back with my parents. But little did I know it was a blessing in disguise. It allowed me to build up my finances. It allowed me to pay off $10,000 worth of credit card debt in 6 months. I called every credit card company that I had, even the collection agencies that I had. And at the time, I was just wanted to get it paid off. But I've been told you don't talk to collection agencies. You talk to the original creditor. But at the time, I was calling the collection agencies, and of course, they give you that you can pay this amount. You don't have to pay the whole amount. So when the guy told me, he was like, "Well, you gotta pay." I want to say it was either 2,000 or 2,500. I said, "How do you want me to send it? You want me to pay it over the phone, or do you want me to send a check?" I was working. I was living with my parents. I didn't have any other bills, so it was time for me to get better about my credit. Once I paid off my $10,000 worth of debt, my dad said, "Okay, now we can go down and find you a car." I got my first car, of course, because of my credit. He had to co-sign for me. But that was a lesson learned for me. And of course, I paid all of that off, and I kept going in the cycle of doing the same thing over again.
Right.
About a year ago, I said, "Okay, I'm 53. It's time for me to stop that cycle." Went and paid off, called my collection agencies again, paid off all my debt. I went from one of my credit scores was like 453. Within a year, I got my score up to almost 800.
Mm.
That's
Look at that.
good.
Look
Yes.
at that.
And what I'm
All based on
learning,
what you learned.
Yep.
exactly, it was
Yeah.
self-taught, but I know
Yep.
what I was doing wrong. And I tried to keep my kids from going down that road. Of course, everybody has their journey they have to go down. My oldest son, when he started, I said, "Do not apply for any credit." And of course, he did. He got looped up in that. But my younger son, he's like, "Mommy, I don't need no credit cards." I got him one credit card when he went off to college for emergency purposes only. And I believe I gave him that card. And of course, he ran it up to the limit. And after that, he was like, "Mommy, I don't want no more." He paid that off. And he was like, "Mommy, I don't want no more credit cards." So once you learn as a parent, you try to teach your children. But of course, once they get a certain age, it goes out what my mama said, in one ear and out the other.
When they're not done.
But yeah, everybody
Absolutely.
needs to know about, credit worthiness, and everybody goes through the financial situation, but when you know better, you do better.
Right.
And
Right.
that's if you when you go through it, you got to figure out what the lesson was. If
Right.
you don't figure out the lesson, you're going to keep going through the cycle, and that's what I was doing.
Hmm.
But I don't want to do that anymore, and it shouldn't be when you get in your 50s that you be thinking about it. You got to think about it
Right.
before then if you want something. But it's hard. It's hard because you always get that
Ooh.
thing. I ain't got it. I ain't got it. I ain't got it. But you got money to be
Uh,
spending $40 or $50 on getting your nails done, paying $200 to $300 to put a weave in your hair, but you
yeah.
Right.
ain't got it. But
That's right. It's tough. And that's the thing. I don't want people to look at credit as bad. I really don't, because some parents do teach you, hey, don't do that. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. It really boils down to one word, and it's discipline. I swear. Once you learn discipline, you use credit for leverage. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's
right,
what it's for. Once you learn discipline behind it and understand it, I I I, I take that out of the equation. It's not bad. It's bad if you don't know what you're doing.
right,
Right.
You have to learn discipline behind credit, because that's the world we live in. You know what I mean?
absolutely,
Right.
You
absolutely.
got to play that game. So it's
Right.
discipline.
Discipline is a big word for
Mhm.
everything in life. If you have no discipline, you're gonna run wild.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're
And
absolutely
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
no. Go
interrupt.
ahead, go ahead.
But often, like, I have people to say, "Well, those kids are not going to listen to you." But I was like, if I can reach one, just one, because then that one can reach somebody else, and that one can, then it keep on multiplying like that. So, I don't let it discourage me as far as like, they, cause like you said, to your point is, to where, like if you going through your multiple kids, some of them listen and some of them don't. And that's
Mm-hmm.
how it's going to be in a setting in high school. I know that I probably won't get through to every one of them, but if I can touch just a few of them, and then they can go and tell friends how they actually need to be successful, they're going to impact somebody else's life because they're an influencer for somebody else. So it kind of got to get that cycle like that, because you got bad influence as well. Of course, we all know that.
Hmm.
A lot of times, what I ran into with banking is, kids, don't listen to a friend that says, "Hey, I know you got a Pell Grant, but you can go and get $2,000 or $3,000," and then they don't realize they're applying for a student loan, or they
Absolutely.
get a credit card and then they go on a shopping spree and they don't realize, okay, I got to pay this back. They're like, just get this credit card and it's gonna give you $3,000 on it, and you can just go shopping. But they don't tell you, it has to be repaid until it's too, it could not really too late. It's just like you having to kind of work in reverse, because a lot of these higher paying jobs check your credit. They don't realize credit is for more things than purchasing power. So that's
Absolutely.
kind of why I'm trying to, that's why it's just true and passionate to my heart to kind of get, reach as many of these young adults as possible, so they don't have to try to, you know be reactive, be proactive instead of reactive. So
You're doing
Absolutely.
the
We
right
are
thing
gonna take
too.
a break, but we're gonna be right back with Talking Thick with Chrissy. Give me a few minutes and we'll be right back.
Yeah.
It's Gio, man, again, man. And I thought to myself, and I said, Gio, see, what they don't understand is you ain't gonna keep telling them, so I ain't gonna tell you again. No. You're not getting no tea. No. A little bit of good conversation, but it get a little relaxed and all corny. No. See, it's time to get thick. Real thick, like thick women, like thick conversation, like thick money. We finna talk thick with Chrissy. Yeah. That's what we gonna do. We gonna talk thick with Chrissy. Go holler at your girl.
I want to give a shout out to my sister, Christine Adams. She is coming out with her own show. Her own show, guys. And I'm super excited for her. It's called Talking Thick with Chrissy. It's going to be amazing. Y'all better tune in, because it's going to be amazing. It's a long time coming, and she is coming through hot, hot, hot. Be ready. Talking Thick with Chrissy is coming to you.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I want to give a very, very special shout out to my mom, Christine Adams, on her new podcast. Congratulations, Mom, on your new podcast. I know that everything is going to be great. The people are going to love you just as much as I love you, but they could never love you as much as I love you, because I'm going to always love you the most. I'm so, so, so very proud of you. I'm excited for the big things that's going to be coming your way, and I cannot wait to hear for the topics that you'll be discussing. Love you.
Welcome back to Talking Thick with Chrissy. My guests, Dwayne Cole and Carrie Wilson. We are talking thick about credit worthiness and finances. Thank you guys for being here once again. Dwayne, you were about to say something before we went to commercial.
The only thing I was about to say is, I know Carrie had mentioned that, some people say, hey, these kids aren't going to listen. Um, there is somebody out there that's listening. And just like she said, even if it's one or two people, you got some people that follow and you got some people that lead. So you are going to have people in that, in that grouping, in that group setting, in that audience that's actually going to hear what you're saying, and they're going to pass that along. So, I think it's awesome that you're doing that, and I think it's well worth it. And you will have somebody that will take exactly what you want them to take out of that. So, by all means, kudos and keep going with that.
Absolutely,
thank
because I
you.
believe that the younger you start with your children, the better, as long as they can understand it. But of course, we got those parents that they start putting credit cards in their children's name and mess their credit up before they
Mm,
even can get started. That's y'all know I'm telling the truth out there. Y'all
Oh
know I'm
yeah.
telling the truth. Stop putting credit cards in your kids' name. Stop putting your kids' names on your utility bills. If you
mm,
ain't got credit worthiness, you need to fix your credit. You need
that's
to
it.
find another way to get financially stable and stop leaning on your kids, because it's not fair to them, because they already knocked down before they even get started.
Hmm. Yep, absolutely right.
And
So
And
that
that's
was
the
cool.
truth. Yeah, that is the truth, Chris. Because I've seen a lot of that too. And then what happens is the kids fear that if they actually report it as identity theft, that their mother or father is going to get arrested.
Absolutely.
And I try to educate on the credit repair process as well. I was like, that's not necessarily so. So I do try to encourage them to still report it as identity theft and show them that you can get this fixed actually easier than what you think. Because you can prove that you wasn't even age to be applying for credit at that time. So I've seen a lot of that in banking as well, and it just hurts my heart because you just basically you're supposed to give your kids a fresh start to be able to be successful in life, and they don't understand how much they're ruining their kids' start to the future. Because, like I said, some of them don't even want to dispute it or either state it as identity theft because they think their parents could, have some type of repercussion from it. So it most definitely need to be stopped, though.
Exactly. Exactly. Do either one of you believe in the envelope method of saving?
I actually haven't personally done the envelope method because I'm the type of person that I feel like my funds are safe and secure inside of a bank.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be like that in the future, but I feel like if you're keeping your money in the envelope or in a safe at home, it can get destroyed and you can't really get it back unless you have like some type of documentation of the money somehow to be able to convince the insurance to replace it. But you know how hard that could be because
Absolutely.
people not being truthful. It makes it
Right.
hard for everybody that's being honest. So essentially, I don't discourage it, but I just don't personally do it myself.
Same. I'm not going to discourage it, but I also encourage people to do what works for them. It's just one of those things that, hey, if that's a method that will work, or if it's something that will encourage you to do it, by all means, go for it. But yeah, I'm not going to say I don't believe in it. It's just whatever works for you.
Yeah, I tried it. I have my savings, I have all my investments or whatever, but I needed to do a envelope savings. And what I did it for was for car repairs and house repairs. And I tried to not overextend it. I did what I could afford. So that way I wasn't taking from something else that I had to pay. So
Mm-hmm.
it worked for a little while. It worked for a little while till I had that big sum where I had to take from both envelopes to pay for whatever happened. So
Yeah,
yeah,
but you had it though. That's the
Yep,
thing,
that's
though.
a
I
good
mean, you
thing.
just have to treat it, as like what it is. It's
right.
for emergencies or whatever the case may be, and that's really big to have, some sort of emergency fund because you never know what's going to come up. So, well, that feeling of not having it but needing it, yeah, that's not a good feeling. So,
Not at all.
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. Dwayne, being that you work in credit, has there been a time that there has been a client that you could not help?
You know, I can't say that I can't give a solid saying yes that there has been a time, and there have been customers that may have been a little zealous, a little difficult. Me, as far as being able to help them, I've not run into any issues, knock on wood. But you will have the client that may get frustrated, or the client just as Carrie had mentioned earlier, that may not have the funds to continue to pay on a payment plan. So of course, I still encourage them, but I can't say that there has been someone that I couldn't help because there's several ways that I can add to their value and their circumstances.
So with the credit, is there any items on a credit report that you cannot get deleted?
You know, I will say anything negative can be removed. You know what I mean? It can be removed.
Gotcha.
So even, and I'll say this, even student loans. Now, one thing I will say about student loans is yes, they can be removed, but I'm very clear to say that, hey, you know what? That's still debt that you're going to owe. It will help with your debt to income ratio, but don't count on it disappearing. You know what I mean? So anything negative, in all honesty, can be removed with my experience, in my experience.
Okay, now you mentioned student loans because the world. It's just like all over the place with student loans. And you said that they can be removed, but like you said, the debt is still owed. So if it's not on their credit report, do you let them know to reach out to the lenders to make payments?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. Still got to make some kind of arrangement with them. You still have to. So I don't mislead anybody with that. You know, even though it may be removed from your report, again, that's to help your debt to income ratio for whatever it is you may be looking to purchase. But you still need to make some sort of arrangement in some capacity with that lender.
Okay.
And that could be, you know, setting up a payment arrangement. That could be seeking information on student loan forgiveness. Just you just have to, you know, you definitely have to address it. Don't just ignore it and think it's gone forever.
Gotcha. So anybody who's out there watching, if you have student loans and you're looking to get them deleted, make sure you follow up with your lenders, to make your payments. Because again, yes, it may be negative debt, but it is debt that you owe because you did go to school. Whether you earned a degree or not, it's still your debt. So what people think credit repair is about, it's not. They're trying to get debt removed and not, do anything else with it. That's what they're looking for, an all in all fix. But it's their responsibility at the end of the day to own up to it. And I mean, I have student loans that I'll probably be reaching out to you about, Dwayne, because I definitely will. And I will more than likely be using carry services too, because, like I said, I've been working on my credit, but it got to the point where you can have not having credit and having too much credit is just as bad.
Oh yeah.
It's just as bad. So I need that, what you call it, that push.
That push.
That push.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Absolutely. And they say, I've heard people say that the more money you have, the more debt you have. They said if you ride past a mansion, some people broke. They ain't got no money because they have the money to do what they want and they just spending it. They're not maintaining what they have.
Yep.
People have been laughing at what's his name? He's an actor. When he showed up to the Oscars in his why I can't think of his name. He showed up in the Oscars with his hoodie.
Yeah, was it Adam Sandler?
Adam Sandler.
Yeah. I heard about that.
They said that he is the highest paid actor there is, but he lives humbly. And they said, and it was on the news how most of his money goes to charities. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's good.
Look at that.
Not at all.
There is nothing wrong with that.
Flashy and all that. That's crazy to me. Like, who are you? Who are you trying to entertain?
Right.
You know what I mean? Let's buckle down and take care of business. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's showing something right there. If you're taking care of business, you don't have to show everything that you might have, or show everybody. So yeah, that's taking care of business.
Absolutely. But people feel like, they be looking at the celebrities in these big houses. Why do you need 25 rooms? Why do you need 30 bathrooms? You only got one ass. Why? I mean, that just don't make no sense. People always live and I can say, personally, I have lived above my means. I have, and it cost me in the end. Right. But like I said, when you go through it and you learn that lesson, you stop doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, too, what I do in my workshops, especially with the youth, I use the example of, you see some rappers and basketball players and stuff that, go broke. They have all that money and go broke. That's because they don't know how to manage it.
Right.
So, managing your money is very important. It's very crucial to have some type of system in place to where you don't, overesteem yourself. So, I really talk through that. I probably need to start getting some examples, but you know how it is. You don't want to, just kind of be talking about people or anything like
you
that.
don't
But
have
it's
to
the
give
truth.
names. You can just give examples of, people that you have helped and, things like that, but you don't have to give any names.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, I may need to look up some celebrities because it's out there in public news.
There you go.
But
There you go.
got
That's right.
Those are public examples. That's what I mean. When you start seeing this whole like celebrities, I may need to start researching and saying this celebrity is absolutely broke. You may think he's not, but
Hmm. That's
but
right.
Absolutely.
anyway,
Look what happened to
it's
MC
the honest
Hammer.
truth though.
Oh yeah. Unfortunately, yeah,
Yeah,
he
look
went.
what happened to him. But then you also got the celebrities like Shaq, Michael Jordan, who has put their money in other investments. And you have a lot
Absolutely.
of these basketball players that they making all this money and they're not doing anything with it. They having parties, they doing whatever they want to
Right,
do. And then what happens when they get hurt? That's always the scenario. What's going to happen when
Hmm.
you get hurt?
right.
Where's the security if you have children? Where's the security for your kids? You don't spend these millions and millions of dollars and then you have nothing to show for it.
Right. Happens all the time.
Yeah.
So at
And
whatever
Chrissy,
age,
that's a good example too.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a
And
good example because from real life, like from not being a celebrity, you can get hurt on your job as well, and you may
absolutely.
not have short term or long term disability. You may go without pay for a few months. That's why it's always good to have a 6 months worth of your bills put away,
Hmm.
or either seek insurances outside of your job that does pay for like hospitalization and disabilities and stuff like that because you can get just like big insurance that'll cover you if something happens. People have to think of it from that standpoint as well. Protect yourself, and if anything happens, not just death. But
Exactly.
that's just a whole
And
nother, you know.
that
But it's
that's
still
a whole
financial.
nother subject. That's
No,
a
it's still
whole nother
financial, but it is a
hour.
whole nother subject. But it's something
Exactly.
that people
Where
need to
people
know and know is got they have access to things like that.
right. And you got as soon as somebody passed away, you see a GoFundMe on Facebook. Like that's not life
Yes,
insurance.
Hmm.
That is not life insurance. And of course, we go back to, I don't have it. I can't afford it. But again, you getting your nails done, you getting your feet done, you getting
Right.
your weave done. All these people out here got the money for that, but they don't have money to put aside for their kids' life insurance policies. They don't have it
Wow.
for themselves. And it's sad.
it is.
It's
And
sad.
it can be something as good as minor as like I love Starbucks, and I use myself as an example sometimes. When I was in the working world, I would stop by and have to give me one of those $6 or $7 coffees every day. You think about that 5 days a week, that's $35 a
Absolutely.
week. And by the time you look at it on a monthly basis, you could have put that money towards life insurance.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
And the earlier you get it, the better. You're locked in at a good rate, especially if you get whole life. So
That's
anyway,
right.
like I said, I know that's a whole another subject, but it's
It
still
is.
serious,
It is. And I will put this out there too. It's hard for certain people to get life insurance policies. I'm
Sure
speaking
is.
from personal experiences. Um, because of my size, I was unable to get life insurance, and my dad had to get it for me. I couldn't get it for my kids either, so my dad had to get it for me. And in that particular situation, you think about it. Okay, so the insurance companies are not wanting to take that risk. But my thing is that you got skinny people out here dying every
Hmm.
right?
day. You don't. Nobody knows what time of the day, what hour they're gonna leave this world. So it
Man.
should not be about your size. Why they won't insure you.
Right. Yeah, that is challenging too. You're right. Um, it's sad because when you're younger you don't need as much coverage, but when you're getting to get owning a home that's not paid off and things like that, you want to ensure that your significant other or your kids or whoever is going to be heirs to that property
Right.
don't be up with debt, and so you need more life insurance as you get older. So essentially it makes it harder whenever you're needing to add more for things to be able to pay things off that you've worked hard for, because you just don't want it to be have to be taken because nobody can pay it off and not being able to have
Absolutely.
life insurance coverage.
And they have a insurance that will actually pay off your house if something happens to you as well. I
Yep.
tried to get that too. And again, it was about the weight thing. So I couldn't get it. So he was like, well, call me back, when you get down to a certain weight. And it's just like, wow. So what do I do? What am I supposed to do? Because I know there's people out there that just like me that may be going through the same thing. Yeah, we can lose weight. But what happens if we get to the point where we're still at that certain weight and we cannot get that insurance, but we're sickly?
Right.
It's a big challenge for some people.
It is.
I'll tell you, I didn't know about that challenge. To be honest with you, I did not know that they. I don't know. To me, that's some sort of discrimination. But hey, I didn't know that.
Yeah. They like I said, because of I don't know how old I was when my dad got the insurance for me, but I had to be a rider on his insurance. And it became an issue. But, it's life.
Yeah.
It's life. You just have to figure out a solution for it.
That's
But
what I was
yeah,
about to say. And that's when you seek alternatives.
yeah, if you have the ability to get life insurance for you and your kids, please do. Because
Right.
again, a GoFundMe is not an insurance policy. And
Right.
so many people, you see all of this death out here with all these kids is passing away. And as soon as you see it, you see that GoFundMe go up.
Yep.
Parents, you should be able to at least look into, especially if they're young kids. It may be $10 or $15 a month.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that you spend every day. You're absolutely right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, let's see. We're going to take a break. I thank both of you for being here once again. We'll be right back with you.
Hey, Christine, congratulations on your new show. I know it is going to be fabulous. You know why? Because you are sister.
Hey, cuz, congratulations. Talking thick with Chrissy. I like how it sounds. Sounds spicy. I'm checking in live from North Carolina. This is a little cuz. Tell. Let me know what mind being on the show. I got a pretty good conversation. I'm pretty charismatic. But congratulations.
Hey, making this shout out video to my mom to tell you that I appreciate everything you have done for me. I love you very dearly, and I wouldn't be nothing without you. Can't wait to see your podcast. Hope to have my own podcast one day too. Love you. Bye.
Hey, it's Gio, man, again, man. And I thought to myself, and I said, Gio, see, what they don't understand is you ain't gonna keep telling them, so I ain't gonna tell you again. No. You're not getting no tea. No. A little bit of good conversation, but it get a little relaxed and all corny. No. See, it's time to get thick. Real thick, like thick women, like thick conversation, like thick money. We finna talk thick with Chrissy. Yeah. That's what we gonna do. We gonna talk thick with Chrissy. Go holler at your girl.
Welcome back to Talking Thick with Chrissy. If you're just tuning in, I am talking with Dwayne Cole and Kerry Wilson about credit worthiness, financial stability. So, I wanted to ask a question to both of you. What challenges do people face as far as if they're in a low income situation? What challenges do they face as far as trying to become financially stable?
I would say essentially, if you the thing I see from time to time that like the scenario we talked about before, you have something to where something happened to you medically and you was making a pretty good amount, and then something happened to you medically and you have to go on, social security or disability or whatever those benefits are for low income. And I see challenges in that per se because like you mentioned earlier, Chrissy, and about people getting things when they make the money, they actually go out and get things in their name and they get it with their credit, because they feel like they can make the month to month payments. But like I said, the challenge comes in when that income is decreased through things that's uncontrollable, And then you look at how can you balance it out, and that's a sad situation, and it can be very challenging to try to help someone through that. But you still can give advice. It's still things you can do. But it's come challenging because you may have to resort to bankruptcy or something like that in order to get back to a stable place.
Yep, I
Absolutely.
agree. Totally agree with that. Same. Someone loses their job or their hours were decreased. Those things happen that affect people's ability to pay. Obviously, we know COVID was a huge thing.
Oh,
And
yes.
that put so many people behind with
Absolutely.
their finances. So, with those situations, just as Carrie had mentioned, you do have to look at, the situation individually and say, hey, it may be a situation where you may have to file bankruptcy, which isn't a horrible thing. I mean, it is a new start for you, to be honest with you. So, yeah, the main thing is if their income just, unfortunately changes, that becomes a big challenge.
Right. Yeah. With COVID, a lot of people was losing their homes. I thank God that I was not one of those people. If you own your home and you don't know, you can contact your mortgage company and ask for a loan modification, which is what helped me be able to stay in my home during the pandemic. I was able to get my loan modified, and it brought it down drastically. Some lenders were not helping their clients, which is the
Right.
sad part. You got the
Yep.
lenders that just don't want to help.
Yep.
They are here to make the money, and that's it. But yeah, I have experienced that myself. I do want to ask both of you to give information about how my audience can reach out to you, whether it's for financial workshops, whether it's for credit worthiness. We'll start with you, Carrie.
So my contact information, my phone number is actually 334-733-6836. That's one way. Email address is Carrie, Carrie, at C like Charlie, financial solutions with the S.com. And you can go to my website at www.ccwfinancialsolutions.com and book a 15-minute free consultation.
I will be there. Dwayne, how can my audience reach you out to you?
Absolutely. You can reach me by telephone, text, call, 317 331 6459. My email address will be Dwayne, Dwayne, at life, spelled Lyfe, rewards.com. And then, of course, the website as well, which is going to be the Life again, spelled Lyfe hyphen credentials.com. So Lyfe hyphen Crendi. I can't even spell credentials. D-I-C-I-L-S.com. I have brain fog there. So,
Well, I
yeah,
will.
you reach me.
Well, as we wrap up tonight, I would like to thank my guests. Both of you have been wonderful. Both of you have shared some nuggets about finances and credit repair. And I am looking forward to reaching out to both of you for both your services. I would like to give a shout out to my kids, my two sons. I would like to tell my mommy, I love you and I miss you. Harmony, my grandbaby, I love you. And I hope you guys have enjoyed my show. I hope people that do the replay leave comments, ask questions, reach out to my guests if you have some financial questions, and they'll be glad to answer them for you. Check up their websites and look at the services that you may need. But until next time, keep on having thick conversations and real connections. I hope you guys have a good night.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
You're welcome.